Hello, fellow bibliophiles, and welcome back to Blatantly Bookish. I'm Marissa, and today I want to wish you all a very happy new year and catch you up on what I've been doing lately and over the holidays. With my son crawling all over the place and generally being more mobile, and with me being back at work, it has just been so much harder to find the time to sit down and read, let alone film anything lately. But despite that, I've been able to enjoy a few bookish things which I wanted to discuss with you, most of which are some bookish gifts that I've received for the holidays. One of my coworkers actually got me this amazing bookish necklace that I'm wearing right now. It just has this wonderful autumnal vintage library vibe, which I adore. So I'm really happy to wear this one. I also received this bookish Pride and Prejudice vase from Acacia. We have this really fun tradition of exchanging bookish gifts, and she really outdid herself this year. So if you're watching, thank you again, Acacia. It currently lives on one of my bookshelves, but I have to find the perfect thing to put in it still. And it really is a vase and not a planter, so I can't just get a low-maintenance houseplant to put inside here. Ideally, I'll find something pretty that also won't die or rot or require any sort of maintenance whatsoever. So anyway, I will link Acacia's channel down below for you to check out. Our taste in books has diverged more and more over the years, but her content is awesome, so do go take a peek at her channel if you're not familiar with her already. And then my husband gave me two bookish gifts. The first is this really fun pair of Jane Austen socks. There's not much to say about this one other than I love the color, and I can imagine myself wearing them on a cozy night in, ideally with a cup of tea and a good book. And then the other gift that my husband gave me is this book that I've been excited about, Dear Reader, The Comfort and Joy of Books by Kathy Rensenbrink. I think it's only released in the UK, so it was one of those books that I would have had to purchase if I ever really wanted to read it. I'm actually about halfway through this one, and I do plan to give it a more thorough review once I've completed it. But it's a memoir, as told through the author's personal bookish history and her love of books. I'm already deeply enjoying this one, and I'm hoping that it pulls me out of this rather long reading slump that's been weighing on me lately. I love this book's unique use of literature as a lens to define the personal. Rensenbrink's history is one of joys and sorrows, including profound loss that is hard to fully imagine. But through it all, the one constant she can turn to are the books that she loves and relates to. While admittedly there is a lot of British culture that goes over my head during this reading experience, Rensenbrink does a wonderful job of making the emotion and feeling behind her references feel alive and relatable. I'd be interested to know what any of you who are watching think about this book, if you've read it or heard about it, and just how relatable you found it personally, both if you're from the UK or from the US or from a completely different country, and if you've read the books that she discusses or not. And then the last gift is another book. I was actually so excited about this book that I bought a copy for myself and a copy for Heather from Fresh Parchment. We haven't gotten a chance to exchange gifts yet though, because the holiday season was crazy this year. So Heather, if you are watching, please skip ahead or just stop watching to avoid spoiling part of what I got you for the holidays. Thanks. So I got us copies of The Winter Spirits, Ghostly Tales for Frosty Nights, which is a short story collection and a sequel of sorts to The Haunting Season. This collection is similarly composed of gothic, ghostly tales for winter, and it will be the perfect companion for a cold night with a cup of tea and the sound of howling wind outdoors. I think these stories are all a bit Christmassy and a little bit Victorian too. Some of my favorite contemporary historical fiction authors have stories in this collection. Bridget Collins contributed. She wrote The Binding and The Betrayals, both of which I read and enjoyed so much. There's a story by Imogen Hermes Gower, who wrote The Mermaid and Mrs. Hancock. Natasha Pulley, who I think I've read everything she's written so far, has a story in here. Laura Purcell, Elizabeth McNeil, and Jess Kidd and Kieran Millwood Hargrave, all great authors who I love. And then there are the other half of the authors who contributed stories in here who I've never heard of or read anything by before. And those include Andrew Michael Hurley, Laura Shepard Robinson, Susan Stokes Chapman, Stuart Turton, and Catriona Ward. I have to imagine that they are highly talented to be included on a roster alongside celebrated authors who I already love. If you like any of the authors that I haven't heard of before, or if you'd like to give me recommendations of their works and why you think I'd love them, please do that in the comment section down below. I'm hoping to read this collection soon. Unfortunately, there was an issue with shipping and my copy arrived pretty beat up and damaged. So I've been in a long email chain trying to get a replacement. Apparently, because I ordered 2 copies, the company policy is that they won't send me a replacement. So I have to return the book and order another and just pray that it's intact this time. Wish me luck. I was also able to find time to go to the library for the first time in many, many months. I found some superhuman energy and went after work late one night, right before the library closed. I was so excited that I finally made it, and I took out a book for myself as well as one for my son. For me, I picked up The Late Mrs. Willoughby by Claudia Gray. This one is a sequel to The Murder of Mr. Wickham. It's kind of hard to say much about these 2 books without spoiling the plots of pretty much all Jane Austen's novels, but basically they are murder mystery books where the detectives are the children of the couples that get together at the end of Northanger Abbey and Pride and Prejudice. And the rest of the characters are all plucked straight from Jane Austen's main 6 novels as well. I know these sound gimmicky and like they could be absolutely horrible, but I actually thought the first one was really smart and well executed. The author did an amazing job of interpreting Austen's characters while also preserving their integrity. The first one was clearly written with Austen lovers in mind, and I've heard that this sequel is somehow even better, so I can't wait. And then I picked up The Very Busy Spider by Eric Carle for my son. It isn't here right now. It is in his bedroom and he's asleep, so I will not be getting it and holding it up for you. But it's a classic, and maybe I'll put a picture as well. I didn't realize it was possible for an 8-month-old to have a favorite author, but he sure does. He is constantly grabbing Eric Carle books off the shelves, and his favorite book by far is The Very Hungry Caterpillar. My husband and I have read it so many times that we can recite it by heart. I really wish I was exaggerating, but I am not. We read it to him 6 times today alone. Anyway, he got a little farm animal set for the holidays with little plastic figurines of a horse and a cow and a rooster, so I thought it would be fun for him to make the connection with the farm animals and The Very Busy Spider, which features those same farm animals. It's no Very Hungry Caterpillar, but he loves it. I also got some free books to keep from the library, for myself, not for him. They had a section by the door of free books, so I took a look and I found some really interesting ones. The first is The Lost Memoirs of Jane Austen by Siri James. The premise is that Jane Austen's long-lost memoirs are discovered after hundreds of years, and they reveal a hidden love affair and other secrets and insights into Austen's mind. I have to say it's not very high up my TBR, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity to potentially read it. It was free, after all. If you've heard of this book before or read it, I would love to know what you thought. Is it any good? I'm really skeptical about any Jane Austen adjacent books. Most of them are poorly done or feel inauthentic and feel like a waste of my time compared to her original works. So, not all of them can be as wonderful as The Murder of Mr. Wickham. That one has really exceeded my expectations. And then I also picked up a pretty battered copy of Vanishing Acts by Jodi Picoult. When I was younger, I had a period of time where I co-opted my mother's reading taste as my own, and one of my favorite authors, and hers as well, was Jodi Picoult. For a while, I used to say Vanishing Acts was my favorite book, but I guess it didn't stay that way for too long because I didn't have a copy before picking this up, and I don't even really remember much about it at this point. I just remember that it had a major plot twist. It's about a character who searches for missing persons for a living and is plagued by flashbacks of a life that she can't quite remember. Then one day, a policeman knocks on her door and reveals a secret about herself that threatens her very foundation and jeopardizes her future. So I picked up this copy thinking it could be fun to reread this book and see how it holds up so many years later, and also see if I remember anything about it while reading. It sounds like a fun project, but again, it's not that high on my list of things to do and read right now. So that's all I have for you today, but before I go, I do want to wish you all a very happy new year. Do you have any bookish plans for 2024? Are there any special bookish gifts that you received in 2023 that you're excited to dive into? Please let me know in the comments down below, as I'd love to hear from you all. I will probably be back soon with a 2023 favorites video and some sort of a goals or reflections video for 2024. But until next time, I look forward to seeing you all in another bookish video very soon. Bye!